I'm told that I'm a pretty good speaker and a humble one as well. I may be pretty good, but my father was great. My father was a professor of homiletics at Yeshiva University, where he helped train a whole generation of rabbis in the writing of creative sermons. To this day, there are rabbis from that generation who repeat to me words of Torah from my father. I was thinking of one of his words of Torah based on recent events. It's found in the book of Lamentations, where Jeremiah describes the condition of the Jewish people after the destruction of the temple and they've been exiled. And he writes, "She cries bitterly in the night as tears stream down her cheeks. No one consoles her of all her friends." She cried bitterly in the night. How sad. But my father said the most painful part was the remainder of the sentence where the prophet writes, "As tears streamed down her cheeks, there were none to comfort her." We're all going to have sad moments in life, but how bitter our tears when there's no one to wipe them off, no one to offer comfort. Jewish people, people of Israel, have just been through the Gaza war with endless criticism, apartheid, war crimes, disproportionate. We've seen this before, but this time was different. In the past, when we had to cry, we had our own people comfort us and stand with us. Not this time. Some did, but others. One of the saddest articles I have ever read as a rabbi and a Jew, 100 rabbinic students signed a letter accusing Israel of violent suppression of human rights. A whole letter of protest against Israel's actions, not once mentioning Hamas. This was sent while the rockets were still falling on Israel. Instead of offering comfort when our people are under attack, we got words of criticism. For me, maybe the most painful part of their words of criticism was when they wrote, "For these things we weep." Again, quoting Jeremiah. For these things we weep? When was the last time they wept for the Jewish people? How about our tears? Listen to the words of a 10-year-old Israeli named Renana, which went viral. After John Oliver accused Israel of war crimes, after all Hamas had not killed that many Israelis, that's also our fault. Renana writes, "Every siren makes me cry and feel sad. Just so you know, my army is strong. However, this does not protect me from being afraid. Since I was born, I live in fear. Since I was sick, I have been going to therapy." And our rabbinic students cry for Hamas. This is very dangerous, as reflected in this week's Torah portion, where the spies come back from Israel and 10 of them have a negative report. How did the Jewish people react? Look in the Torah. They sat down and cried. And the Medrash tells us that God said, "You cry on this night for no reason. There'll come a time when you'll cry on this night for a reason." That night was the 9th day of Tisha B'Av, when both temples were destroyed. So tears have value. Our rabbis teach us that even when the gates of prayer are closed, the gates of tears are open. We have to be very careful who and what we cry for. I cry. I cry for 100 rabbinical students. I cry for the communities that someday they will lead. And I cry because not enough Jews cry for us. Shabbat Shalom.